All right, we're back, and we'll start off tonight in the climate news section department with some concerning information. Again, we've reported, Ice Age Farmers reported on this as well. DAP 2030 today did a video talking about this. There's a lot more people talking about the food shortages that we're seeing now, not just in Walmart, but some Kroger chain stores. But here's an article that kind of caught our eyes as well because I've never heard of this before. Effective July 1st, the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services will be issuing Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, or SNAP benefits, on a staggered schedule to help relieve the first of the month rush on food banks and grocers. Benefits are now distributed on a staggered schedule during the first 10 days of the month. A recipient's issue date is determined by the last digit of their birth year. For example, people born in 1981 will receive their payments on the first of the month. Poor people that were born on the 85 will receive it on the 5th of the month. So the last year in your birthday, that is what day of the month you will receive your benefits. The change from issuing benefits on the first of the month aims to alleviate food shortages and allow grocery stores to keep shelves stocked, according to a press release. They are pretty much putting it out there, folks. They're concerned about food shortages. And now it's almost like the government's stepping in and saying, whoa. All you people out there getting SNAP benefits, you're not allowed to ransack the stores and grab our supply. So let's stagger so there's enough for everybody. Makes sense. But why do we have to worry about this now? I mean, are we that close? Think about it. Are we really running off of last year's crops? Don't we have a surplus of food? Again, this is the first time I've ever seen this. I've never heard about such benefits being staggered for the first 10 days of the month to help stores, grocers like Walmart, Myers, Kroger's, to help them keep their shelves stocked. They don't get enough shipments. They're not getting the amount of produce, veggies, and other products like they were in the years past. This is why I'm kind of like, this is real stuff, guys. In the beginning of our broadcast in the space weather section, why I'm saying this is real. This is stuff that we've been taught, we've been talking about. Many people in the community, some were saying it was going to happen when it's happening. And I was one of those people that was hoping we were in for a soft landing. It's not just about green beans and peas or mashed potatoes right now. It's the fact that we're relying on such short food storage right now that last year's crop loss is affecting this year's supply. So if last year's crop loss is affecting this year's supply, and we know last year did not see the flooding that we've seen this year. We know last year these plants were happening all over the country. Ohio, your corn was fine, so was your soybean. Yeah, we were a little late, but we still made the deadlines. This year, we actually had farmers who planted all the way into July. Good luck. I'm hoping for a freak Indian summer like you guys are. I really am. Maybe the unexpected happens this fall and we get this weird heat wave. I don't know. But this is concerning, guys. When our government is taking steps to almost regulate. Okay, you get your food today. Okay, you get your food today. Okay, now you get your food today. I get it. It's for people who are receiving benefits from the government. I get it. Not everybody doesn't have a job, though. There are working families out there that just need a little help with getting food for their family. You just don't know the situation. Either way, it almost feels like the beginning of the control of the distribution of our food. And we haven't even seen what kind of crop loss we're facing for this year. That number will come out in January. So, again, Mari found this article earlier today. We left it on our website. I think everybody here should take a read. Think about this. Again, more evidence that we are seeing this food shortage that's being kind of one of those hidden things where you got to read between the lines here. When was the last time you've seen government step in and take action like this and delay the benefits being received in July? Think about it, guys. Think about it. The same month that we're seeing food shortages in the grocery stores, now it's affecting how we issue benefits to qualified people out there. Bernie Sanders and AOC to pretty much present a resolution declaring climate emergency. Okay, I could do this. Senator Bernie Sanders and Congress members AOC and Earl Blumenauer are introducing a joint resolution today declaring a climate emergency. If passed, the resolution itself would not compel any practical actions, but it aims to push Congress towards enacting a national, social, industrial, and economic mobilization of the resources and labor of the United States at a massive scale. Yeah, they want to transform your economy. As it's surging and booming and doing better than any time in the history of this country, these people here want to kill that and start all over again. Speaking to the Guardians, a spokeswoman for Senator Sanders' office says President Trump has routinely declared phony national emergencies to advance his deeply unpopular agenda, like sending Saudi Arabia bombs that Congress had blocked. No. They're protecting themselves from what's happening with Iran right now and the battle over oil in the Middle East. See, the United States doesn't have to get involved with any wars in oil anymore because we're the #1 producer now. We don't have to rely on foreign oil like we did back in the 90s and the early 2000s. Thanks to people like Trump and his policies, this country is stronger than ever economically. On the essential threat of climate change, Trump insists on calling it a hoax. Thank God. Thank God. Because these people right here, these two clowns, they want to take away whatever kind of progress that any of you have made in the last several years. I can't tell you the difference in my quality of life since the Obama administration. And actually, quite frankly, I've seen some pretty dark days. And I'm telling you, it's no coincidence that these two people here who are from the same party that showed me the last time we had dark days, they want to do that now for no reason at all. And I say no reason at all because there's nothing we can do to start or stop climate change. Nothing stops the sun. Nothing. The sun is going to do it at once. That's why people don't talk about it, because it's too inconvenient. Because everybody, government, scientists, everybody knows that the sun's going to do what it wants to do when it wants to do it. And there's nothing we can do about it. And just hope and pray that it continues to go through these cycles that regulate our climate, that help us with grow seasons and help us with other things. Crossing your fingers, that's all you can do right now. Because if we look back at what we've seen in the past in history, when these grand solar minimums occur, a lot of the things that we're learning from our history are coming true now. And we have more mouths to feed. I hear the people that talk about the monitor minimum and how people died back then and all, technology was terrible. I get it. I get you. But they didn't have 7.5 billion people to feed. Just think about how many more deaths we would have had if our planet was actually populated like that back then. No way. No way. So, if you're on the fence out there and you're having to catch our show for the first time, I guess my statement to you is, what if I could show you the raw data? The data that these two people don't want to show you because they don't understand it and they don't know how to. But what if I showed you the raw data that correlates the opposite of what these two are saying? And all this is about is pushing some political agenda of turning this country into a socialist country where the government controls what you eat, what you use to heat and put electricity in your home. They're picking they want to choose your medical insurance. They want to control when the food gets distributed to you. They're trying to get this done now before it really gets bad. They know the truth. Both sides do. This is a cash grab. This is a cash grab so this side of the political party stays intact during the worst times of our existence. But it's, money's not going to mean anything in the future. It's going to be paper. And paper you're going to burn to keep yourself warm at some point. It's just, at this point right here as an American, and this is why our channel gets suppressed. This is why we don't see the views that we probably should have. Our stuff gets buried because we're trying to teach people how to do things for yourself, because the government is not going to, if the government was going to be here to help us during this event, we would already see it in mainstream medias. We would already see people at YMCAs giving out instructional classes on how to grow or how to make it during these difficult times and what we need to do to pull together as a community. You don't see any of that because the government doesn't want any of that. They want to be in control. That way there's enough for the elite, for the powers that be and their families. The rest of us, hey, sorry about your luck. We interviewed Dr. Circus, who practices natural medicine as his main priority of occupation, and has been writing about climate change, cold climate change, for the past 10 years, and has seen the light as well. And his information gets super suppressed because he actually has the solutions for us medically during the times like grand solar minimum. And then we talk about the climate part of it, which he's spot on with that as well. He understands cloud nucleation. He understands the sun cycles. He understands that lower solar activity creates what we are seeing right now with the weather. He understands all of that. And then with the crop loss. And, the unfortunate part is that he's a little more harsher with what he thinks as far as how many people are going to perish from this event. His number's a lot higher than mine, let's put it that way. And I've heard other people say similar things. All right, let's move on. I've seen enough of those two. You always got to have one of these stories here. Hey, we're going to go study global warming up at the North Pole because it's warm enough. Greenland lost about 2 billion tons of ice in one day, so we should be able to plow right through. July 15, 2019, the Norwegian icebreaker on a mission to the North Pole for Institute of Marine Research was forced to turn back after meeting considerably thicker and more massive ice masses than expected, which the vessel was not capable of breaking through. Thick one-year ice is combined with large batches of multi-year ice joined together in powerful helmets, and several of these impenetrable to us, said Captain Johnny Peter Hansen. The ice is up to 3 meters, almost 10 feet thick, in the middle of July, and not even the researchers' long special purpose chainsaws were able to penetrate the ice. Polar bears were seen this past winter in the middle of the Barents Sea, which shows that the ice edge was very far south. In the middle of July, we see few signs of thawing, and that spring has come. We had expected more melting, and that the ice was more, who do you believe, right? You got the mainstream media, who is saying it's melting up here. Here is the actual article here, and I'm sure you can translate this. The original source on Robert Felix's website, Ice Age Now, and he's pretty good about catching these kind of articles. This is probably the second or third one I've seen in the last year that he reports on. So very, very, very funny that we keep running into these practical stories about these global warming research missions and the icebreakers can't get through the ice. 10 feet thick. Wow. That doesn't sound like a lack of ice up there, folks. All right, so here's some unfortunate news today. A friend of mine sent me this article link, and I read it. And first of all, it's not an attack from New Scientist. So let's be straight on this. In fact, Mari had spoken to Valentina this afternoon, and she had nothing but good things to say about this organization. They were very polite to her. They are simply reporting on what is happening right now. Basically, a high-profile scientific journal is investigating how it came to publish a study suggesting that global warming is down to natural solar cycles. The paper was criticized by scientists for containing very basic errors about how Earth moves around the sun. The study was published online June 24th by Scientific Reports and an open access journal run by Nature Research, which also lists Nature Journal among its titles. A spokesperson told New Scientist that it is aware of concerns raised over the paper, which was authored by 5 academics based in Northumbria University, University of Bradford, and the University of Hull, all in the UK. Now, the author suggests that Earth's temperature rises 1 degree. You know, here's what's crazy to me. I'm reading this article. By the way, Ken Rice of the University of Edinburgh criticized the paper for elementary mistakes about celestial mechanics. It's well known the sun moves around the barycenter of the solar system during the influence of other solar system bodies, mainly Jupiter, he says. This does not mean, as the paper is claiming, that then leads to changes in the distance between the sun and the Earth. I can give you an example of the distance between the sun and the Earth changing. Correct me if I'm wrong, the Milankovitch cycle? Is that one? I'm pretty sure all of you that are following this channel are well versed on that, by the way. This guy was pretty much very rude. It feels like he's being a bully right here. The claim that we will see warming in the coming centuries because the sun will move closer to Earth as it moves around the solar system barycenter is simply wrong. Okay, well, he is urging the journal to withdraw the paper and says it's embarrassing it was published. Hey, Mr. Rice of University of Edinburgh, why don't you do the work yourself first before you come out and tell us what an embarrassment this paper was? And the thing that really fires me up here, I guess, is that they don't even mention about Zarkova until the very bottom of this. But she's, in my opinion, I mean, her work, she's being pushed around right now. These people are upset because she's going against the grain. And Nature and other peer-reviewed scientists have approved this paper to be published in their journal. And these people are throwing a fit, stomping their feet, screaming like little babies. They're bullying a woman. And they're jealous that her work shows the results of what's happening and confirms the grand solar minimum. Also confirms many other things. Super grand minimum solar minimum cycles. 5 grand cycles within a 2,000 year period, or approximately 2,100 years. Okay? 5 grand cycles. Every 350 to 415. So the Maunder minimum was the beginning of this current super grand solar minimum. And yes, the Maunder was a lot colder than other solar minimums. So you fast forward around a little bit more than 200 years, you have the Dalton minimum. Not quite the effects that we saw from the Maunder minimum. But hold the phone. Here we are approaching roughly 400 years later. And we are seeing grand solar minimum, Maunder minimum type conditions around the world. Volcano eruptions, earthquakes, more snow, more melt, more water, more floods, less crops showing up everywhere, guys. Again, I wanted to show you this article to just make you aware of the criticism and the bullying that Dr. Zarkova is going through. And the work that she did was not heavily funded like people are suggesting. Not at all. In fact, we hope we can help with that down the road and in the future. And as we speak, folks, my Twitter hacker is really doing a number right now on my Twitter account. Sorry to interrupt with that, but I must be touching a nerve out there. Mainstream doesn't like me when I start touching nerves. I've gotten 7 texts in a row now confirming my new password for my Twitter account. Thanks, guys. Love you too. But no, I wanted to point this out, that there are people bullying Valentina Zarkova. They're not even mentioning they're not even saying she's wrong about the grand solar minimum. They're bitching about how her warming per 100 years of 0.5 degrees Celsius every 100 years, that's not enough for them. That's not enough. 3 degrees Celsius in the next 600 years, that's not enough to create panic and fear with our agenda so we can continue to rake in the cash. And that's what this really comes down to, guys. She's messing with their money. I want to support her. I want to make sure she gets more credit. And she deserves funding. And I'm hoping we can find a way to help get donations to Valentina. But here is Professor Zarkova. This is her response. I doubt that you have done the proper SIM calculations prior our paper's publication. As your emails to me have shown, you never knew about the scale of the sun displacement at 0.02 AU, about the barycenter of the solar system, and the focus of the Earth's orbit. And she goes on here, I teach a class. Let me go ahead and zoom this in. I have diabetes eyes here. Here we go. That's better. I teach a class when I discuss the motion of the sun around the barycenter and even calculate the magnitude of this, so certainly knew about it. And if you draw a circle or ellipse, please, the sun into its focus and start moving the sun to either side of this on this distance, you obtain the estimations we presented. This is a basic geometry. Yes, if you did such a drawing, you would indeed obtain the estimates you presented. It would, however, be wrong. Clearly, the orbital dynamics of multi-planet systems is rather complicated. However, it is not correct to assume, as you seem to be doing, she says, that the Earth has an orbit around the solar system's barycenter that has a constant semi-major axis and eccentricity. The Earth's orbit around the Sun is perfectly perturbed by the other solar system planets, but these perturbations are slow, timescales of tens of thousands of years. One of the timescale, decades, centuries of the orbit around the Sun can be taken to have a fixed semi-major axis and eccentricity. Say that 5 times fast. And I'm sober, folks. Bear in mind that the figures I sent you and that are included in my blog post are from a full in-body simulation that properly recovers the Milankovitch cycle and the motion of the Sun around the solar system's barycenter. They are not just geometrical representations. So again, just because the Sun executes a motion about the solar system's barycenter that can have a magnitude of about 0.0 AU does not mean the distance between the Earth and Sun varies by this amount. Regards, Ken. In the back and forth of the conversations, Ken Rice was not even aware of sin and denied the sun displacement caused by the planets. This is Zarkova replying to Ken here. Plus, they, Rice and Brown, have accused Valentina's team in violation of Kepler's laws, but she obtained this motion from the JPL infirmarius. So, basically, more disinfo about Zarkova's paper to minimize the one glaring fact. And they want this paper disregarded because she is confirming a grand solar minimum. So they're picking on all this other stuff with the sun. If I'm not mistaken, doesn't Zarkova have a PhD in astrophysics? I'm just saying. I mean, you know, she does have a PhD in astrophysics. Here is Mike Brown's post. He says it was very disappointing to see the claims of Valentina Zarkova given an uncritical run, fresh insights into climatic effects of cosmic changes. Her work makes claims about climate change being caused by recent variations in Earth's distance from the sun. Here we go. They're not talking about the grand solar minimum. They're complaining about SIM. All right. but this is at odds with 400 years of physics and astronomy, including the Kepler's law, planetary motion by NASA. Consequently, her claims about past and future climate change and its causes cannot be taken seriously. No, what can't be taken seriously is the fact that you're using research. What am I looking for? Research mechanics from the 17th century, basically. Meanwhile, Zarkova is doing the real work. My letter to the dodgy climate claims of Zarkova being given an uncritical run. The sun's Earth district has been rapidly changing in recent centuries, nor will it hasn't been changing, he's saying, nor will it during coming millennium. He's right. It takes 100,000 years for this orbital cycle for the Earth. Here's Valentina's response to Mr. Brown. 7/17/2019, Sun and Climate. The Australian Sun and Climate Michael Brown letters criticizes our paper, which has one of three discussed by Graham Lloyd in his discussion of solar and magnetic cycles associated with climate cycles on Earth. Brown is disappointed that our work on subtle variations in Earth's separation from the Sun is at odds with Kepler's laws, a cornerstone of the 17th century astronomy. Again, ancient stuff here. Basic, yes, I get it. He had read beyond the summary, and he would have found that close links between oscillations in the solar baseline magnetic field, solar radiance, and temperatures are established without any involvement of solar inertial motion. Our paper is one of more than a dozen related papers by various esteemed authors published in leading physics journals cited by us. We are confident it represents a useful contribution to the 21st century astronomy. Of course it does. Of course it does. I mean, we can't... Guys, we preach every day that science is not settled. So we can't just take Zarkova's work and say, all right, that's the Bible, that's it, case closed. No. Her paper is going to lead to other papers, and they're going to lead to other discoveries, and it's going to be a foundation for how we look at climate, how we look at change, how we look at everything that involves the sun and our climate on Earth. I want to point out an article, well, not really an article, an interview I want you guys to check out here. Anthony Watts, Judith Curry. Listen to some of this, and she's very hopeful. She is trying to explain to people that Miami's not sinking, very low sea level there. She's trying to calm down some of these alarmist claims here. And Mari and I listened to this interview earlier. I think it's worth a listen. You all should take a listen. But again, I will caution. I think Curry, she's being very optimistic. And I think she's just trying to inject some positivity out of this. A lot like Valentina. Her hopes and beliefs are that we all pull through with this and adapt and thrive. Same with Adapt 2030 and Ice Age Farmer. He shares similar views as well. But some of us also are seeing alarming red flags that don't make us feel like this is going to be a soft landing whatsoever. As Adapt 2030 today shared a video in a couple of our tweets in his video today, these signs are becoming more and more increasing across your supermarkets. I want to read you the email that Del Monte had sent Mari on July 15th. Thanks for your email and interest in Del Monte Foods. We are aware that some retail stores may currently be out of Del Monte Foods and apologize for any inconvenience or disappointment. Our fruits and vegetables and tomatoes are packed at the peak of ripeness, and the growing seasons and crop yield may vary each year. Occasionally, as in this situation, the previous year's crop may not meet 100% of consumers' demand. As a result, consumers may find that the product is out of stock for several weeks. This is only a temporary situation, and we expect to return to normal supply levels by mid to late August. Thanks again for contacting us. If we can be of more help, please call us 1-800-543-3090, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Eastern Time, or use the Contact Us link on our website. Chris, Del Monte Foods Consumer Affairs. Hope you just didn't lose your job over that. You're basically telling everybody that last year's crop yields did not meet the consumer's needs, and we all know how weak crop loss we had last year, but yet it was still kind of alarming because we haven't seen that kind of crop loss on that scale yet. And like I mentioned earlier, we know this year is going to be worse. Read between the lines, folks. Dustin Cook sent us in bunches of photos here, guys. More pictures of empty produce shelves. More grocers' signs. They're all saying the same thing. We will have a supply refill by mid to late August because they know the coming harvests. I don't know if anybody's paying attention at Del Monte, but the farmers were about 4 or 5 weeks behind on planting. And I want you guys to notice something here. And this is happening everywhere as well. The placement of the food. Some of these are shelves with, boxes full of cans. Some of these shelves are full of, like this one right here. Let me go back to this. Look at the bottom of the shelf, guys. Look how they've got them stacked towards the front to make it as if, oh, we got that in stock. Don't worry. We got that in stock. Not so much here. I think that's still pretty good stock right there. Here's your produce, guys. Pretty weak. Kelly Joe from southeastern Ohio sent us photos of these grocery store shelves at 10:30 a.m. And I can tell you right now, they've already been overnight stocked. And so she went at a normal time where everything wasn't picked over, and there was a lot of glaring holes of product missing off the shelves. A lot like what we're seeing right now. Some of it's worse. So when we see things like this, and then scientists we trust like Dr. Zarkova, PhD in astrophysics, and she wants to confirm the upcoming grand solar minimum along with other people who have been trying to tell us the same thing, but finally have someone in the scientific world who is willing to put their neck out there and tell us the truth for once. But this information and other natural remedy information channels will be, how could I say this, just not easily accessed. Let's just put it that way. Easily accessed with the information that you need to know now. And for those of you who went out and grabbed seeds to start planting now, you better do it indoors. You better have a greenhouse. You're not planting anything outdoors right now. I feel like this year most of the country will see an early frost. That's just my opinion. On top of the fact that temperatures won't stay as hot as long as we need them. Mari, I sent Mari some pictures today of some corn that they were selling for $3 And maybe in our next show on Thursday night, we'll include those images as well. But the corn was no longer than from my wrist to the tip of my fingers, and about 60% less in circumference than what usual corn looks like, especially this time. So it's getting real, folks, and we're here to put awareness into everyone's mind so they don't act surprised when things get real bad next year. Indoor growing is going to have to become a very quick innovation that we have to figure out immediately before we see even worse food shortages. And I'm telling you, if it's showing up in the U.S. like this now, imagine what it's going to do to these second and third world countries next season and the following season. And then eventually here in the United States, how far will it go as far as crop loss and food shortages? And I'm telling you, when you got grocers like Walmart, Myers, and Kroger's that are showing these kind of bare shelves, and every time I go into the store, and flour is the new one that I saw today as well. I went into a couple different Walmarts, and both of those stores had very weak looking flower shelves. I can report this though, wheat is finally being harvested in Nebraska today. So that's some good news. That has begun. They were hoping to start it much earlier than this. In fact, they wanted to get going on Monday, but they finally are now harvesting some wheat, thanks to a friend of mine, Matt, for giving us the behind-the-scenes look of what it's like in the life of a farmer. Very informal videos that he sends me. It tries to help me understand just exactly what we are going through right now. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our weather report.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform, buy a t-shirt, or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.